history of this league. It's that story. Mike spent a bunch of money and then missed the playoffs.
Welcome back to another edition of the RTF show. Dun, 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 dun. Trade deadline special guest in the house. We got a lot to talk about tonight. It's been a crazy week. Welcome in, Brother John. How are you doing?
Oh my God. I don't think I've gotten any work done this week. It's literally been fantasy football trades. Gotta start staggering the trade deadlines in different leagues. It's been a mess.
Yeah, probably a good idea. But we are also joined. I'm wearing, my Jesus Shuttlesworth jersey as we welcome in another bearded wonder to the show, Duncan Brownalt, brother-in-law, pitcher, cat extraordinaire. How are you, Duncan?
Best day of my life, Mike. You've got your Jesus Shuttlesworth. I have my jersey from the time I spent on the Spurs.
Oh, wow.
Very nice. Very nice.
Are you a Spurs fan? Is this, or you just say Duncan?
No, I like the Spurs.
Okay.
Well, Duncan's a Texan. He might be the only the only person in our league who, when he says y'all, he means it. Yeah. Well, Duncan, welcome in. We haven't had you on yet this year. It's your first year in the league. How has it been going? You just experienced your first trade deadline. Is it everything you hoped, everything you dreamed of? Is it terrible? Do you regret this decision? How's it going?
It's going good so far. This is definitely the most in-depth fantasy football I've ever been a part of in my life.
Well, we'd love to hear that.
Is it like the most complex league you've ever been in, or just like the most like involved, belligerent group of people that like just constantly are yelling at each other in a chat?
It's certainly the most complex fantasy I've ever played, and it's definitely the most active group. My group of friends from high school has a pretty similar level of belligerence, so I'm pretty used to that by now. They're a lot less active in the chat, though, but it's nice to be active. Yeah, it's good to see.
Yeah, it goes pretty heavy for about 16, 17 weeks here. So
yeah, it'll die in the off season. All right. Well, we had a big week. And we're going to get into the trades in a second, but I want to just start with what happened last week, because I think it really did help to shape the playoff picture a little bit. Last week, the Papa Bear division won out. Everybody got a win in a division that is everybody's above 500. Hotly contested. We currently have 4 teams that are in line to make the playoffs. 4 teams that are in line to make the playoffs. So John gets a win over Kelly in a game that Kelly really, really could have used a win in. Ken beats Duncan. The battle of my brother-in-laws. Duncan, tough loss. We'll come back to that in a second. Doug, despite I think a tough showing by his crew, ekes out a victory. Not ekes out. I mean, he won by 20, but gets the victory over Steve. And finally, where did I cover? Oh, Peter. There it is. Peter gets his win over Josh, and I think effectively ends Josh's season.
It's interesting that you say that, though, Mike. I think that potentially, this game would not have been the season ender for Josh if not for him, losing the week before, and he lost the week before because you traded Ken, Travis Kelce.
Well,
now
sure.
I'm just going to lay this out at the top of the show so that everyone can kind of absorb this, and then it'll flow down, and we'll really set sort of the tone for what we get to talk about during the main segment, which is the trades at the trade deadline. If you had not traded Ken Kelce and Josh had won that week, and if you had lost this past week, he'd be sitting at 5-5. I don't think.
No,
no,
he wouldn't. He'd be 4-5.
Sorry, 4-5. 4-5.
That's pretty competitive in my division, though.
4-5, pretty competitive in the division. I don't think we would have seen the sell-off from Josh that we saw, which really instigated this insane last 2 days that we've seen. So, this arms race you've seen happen, I think we could all say it's because you flapped your wings and gifted Ken, that W. So
the butterfly effect. Yeah.
Yes.
Well, I didn't think that trading Ken, the number 13 or 14 tight end in the league at the time that I traded him, was going to have that big of an effect. But, it's a team game. I think Josh could have also won had Jordan Mason done anything that week. So why don't we blame Jordan Mason?
No. It's a lot easier and more fun to blame you. So we will continue this this string. I'll continue to pull on this throughout the show. But
can't wait.
Let's get back to the topic.
Duncan,
I want to have consequences, Mike.
Yes.
Yeah, that's been hammered home to me over the last 2 weeks. Duncan, I want to come back to you. So you lost to Ken this week. Was that the nail in your coffin for this season? Had you won? Were you looking to continue on this year, or was the writing on the wall for you, as it were, with your team this year?
I'd say the writing was pretty much on the wall. I mean, this year, even at the draft, with how few quality running backs were really available, this year was always kind of a see what I can get and then sell unless something crazy happens. Because if you look at my wins, a lot of my wins were my fantasy defense, not like my DST, but like my points against is pretty good. And that's even on the back of some people going off against me. Like I've had some pretty low scoring wins. So I figured either this year it would be buy as much as possible and just kind of hope for the best on my skeleton crew, or, keep my assets I was able to get for pretty cheap this year and then try to make a run next year.
Yeah, I feel like, you drafted a bunch of rookies, which I feel like was probably the right move, but you were sort of hamstrung early in the season by the fact that Ladd McConkey wasn't doing much. And Bo Nix, I think, also had a bit of a rough start to the season, if I remember correctly. Kind of still having some tough games, but I think he had a few low scoring games there. And then obviously Janty, who has come on of late, but did not start the season. Those first 3 games were kind of brutal. Did not do much for a guy that you paid $62 for. So yeah, I get it. The division is in this interesting place, though, where Alec has a 1-game lead, and is he last? Yeah, he's last in points for. has a 1-game lead, but the 3 other teams in his division have all sold. And he's bought. So he's in a position, I think, obviously, to win this division. But here's my question to both of you. Is it over? Is that division locked up for Alec? Does he have has he won it already tonight? Or is there still work to be done?
So he gained Genty from me.
Mm-hmm.
What else did he gain? Is that it?
Garrett Wilson.
And Garrett Wilson.
Yes. So we can start here. Let's start actually, I guess before we get too deep into the trade talks, let's go back out and we'll finish up the wrap up from last week. So I lost last week, kicked off the island, 78 points. My first really bad week of the season, and couldn't be happier to leave an island that contained both John and Ken, 2 people that I hear enough from in my daily life, and don't need to be stuck on an island with. So.
Is that the only people left? Who else is left?
No, Duncan. Or sorry, not Duncan. Steve is still on the island as well, and I think that's it. That should be it.
Yeah. Incredible.
Steve came pretty close last week. It ended up being a tight race between Steve and I. I finished at 78. He finished at 80 to stay on the island last week. John, what is happening around the league in football news?
Well, I mean, injuries continue to pile up, and it feels like people are not getting better, right? So you've got Bucky still kind of having a undisclosed sort of like no updates there, not practicing.
Mm-hmm.
Who else went down this week? Jaden Daniels went down this week. You've got guys coming back, but there's been a lot of hamstring injuries. AJ Brown is still out. DeAndre Swift is unknown. Monungai also has an ankle injury. It's been a rough year, I feel like, for injuries, and I'm not sure if that's going to get better. The other big news was the NFL trade deadline. And there wasn't a ton of moves except for the Jets selling their entire team except for
their fantasy relevant players.
Yes. Yeah. Breece Hall begging to be let out was not let out. And then Jacoby Myers getting traded to the Jaguars, kind of a not so fantasy relevant move, but not terrible. But otherwise, kind of a quiet.
Rashid Shaheed goes to the Seahawks this week, which I think maybe has more relevance to Darnold's fantasy worth than Shaheed's actual fantasy worth.
It also sort of spells the writing on the wall for Cooper Kupp. We probably won't ever see him play a game of football again.
Yeah,
I think he's done.
Agreed.
I think he's done.
Agreed. I think it helps JSN too. And then other big news. The only other interesting news of the week in the NFL was today. Or yesterday, today, Jacoby Brissett they put Kyler on IR, and Brissett is made the starter. And so I wonder, is this, either of you, is this the end of Kyler Murray on Arizona? Is this the end of his Cardinals career? Could we see him moving
Contract
elsewhere?
left, doesn't he?
Yes, he does.
Yeah, he just got a huge contract like a year or two ago.
Mhm.
I mean,
But
I
I
think
could see them
the
trying to
fans are
move
done
on.
with him.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder. Go ahead, John.
Well, yeah, I mean, for me personally, I would have loved to, found out that news before I traded for AJ Brown, because Marvin Harrison looks great with Jacoby Brissett. Now I feel like I didn't quite need to make that move, because I feel like Marvin is going to be just lights out.
Yeah, he's going to be the man there.
Did you see him make that guy fall down?
Who fall down?
The route. Yeah, he on the goal
Yes.
line.
Yes.
Yeah. He put that guy on skates. It was great. Like
I saw the CD Lamb reaction to it. Yeah.
Yeah. I think, and he also took some big hits there, in that game, and he didn't shy away, unlike the last year and a half where he refused to take a hit. It seems like maybe he's finally coming around, and
Agreed.
should be good for me. But Jacoby looks pretty good in that. I mean, I guess, I don't know. I feel like every quarterback that plays either the Bengals or Dallas, afterwards everyone's like, is he like the fantasy league winner of the season? It's just like, no, he played one of the two worst defenses in the league.
Yeah. Kyler's got, after this year, he's got 2 years left on his contract, guaranteed years left on his contract. I think the Cardinals have an option, but in the third year. But I would not be surprised if this is kind of spelling the end for him. I don't know what that would look like necessarily, or where he would go. I would imagine there's plenty of teams that would snap him up and give it a shot. Teams like the Browns or
Saints.
The Saints. Yeah, there you go. All right, let's get into it. So this is what everybody's here for. The trade deadline passed about 30 minutes ago. It was, I think, one of the most active trade deadlines in league history. There were in total 14 trades this year that involved money changing hands. More if we just talk about players. So a huge number of moves were made. I'm gonna put it up there for everybody to see, and I'll preface this by saying that this graphic was brought to you by Sam Altman and ChatGPT. So where do we start here, John? How do we go through this? Because it seems like you have a plan. I'm not really sure. How do we go through it?
Well, I mean, we've gone through, there's been a few early sells, but not too many, right? I think Kelly's Barkley sale to Jake really set the tone, I feel like, for pricing, at least, up until the last hour or two of trades. Pretty steep price for Kelly, right? $50 for Barkley and Trump change. Debo, who's been kind of not very active or impactful, I guess. But since then, I would say the next biggest trade was Fitz to me to Lamb for Lamb. Which, yes, I'm happy to release the text message thread, the chats, the receipts. He told me that Lamb was not available and then he announced to the chat that he was available. So, all is fair in love and war. I made the move. I initially said 30 to him. Happy to give insight into kind of the trade, which I think is kind of the fun part about this, is like giving some background on the trade negotiations. I said, I'll do 30 right now if you just give them to me. No negotiations, just 30 straight. And he immediately went to the chat and said, I have an offer for $30. Like, okay.
But you got your answer.
Yeah. So,
I mean, I think that was a smart move by Fitz.
I can't fault Fitz for it. I think it was just hilarious. I was sitting there. It was Sunday morning. I was just like, "Are you fucking kidding me?" Like, and then he came back and said, "If you do 35, I'll cut it off." And so, then
ruthless. Just ruthless.
So,
I want to say, Fitz is one of the like nicest, genuine people I know in this world, and just a ruthless motherfucker when it comes to fantasy football. Apparently, hilarious. I love it.
You gotta get
so
it
he kind of just really,
exactly.
So that happened. And I'm happy I did it. Lamb's coming home. I've had Lamb since I believe the second year in this league, or something like that, first or second year of the league. And it felt good to get him back on the team. I think he's going to be very impactful. And I really felt like I didn't need to make another move.
But you did.
But I did. Due to the butterfly effect. Due to the arms race. And so yeah.
Okay. So before we get to your butterfly effect, I want to kind of broaden out here a little bit. I think it was 223 auction dollars changed hands in this trade cycle, which is wild. And if we look at the totals by teams, Josh ends up with 71 extra dollars. Duncan, 23 extra dollars. Fitz at 65 extra dollars. Jake at 47 extra dollars. Those are the big winners, I think, of the trade market. And I wanna just, before we dive deeper into it, I want to get some feedback on the idea of is it possible to have too much money in this league? Is there a point where you're not getting a return on your investment? Any thoughts on that?
I have thoughts. Duncan, do you have any thoughts? I think.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't done this league format enough to have very in-depth thoughts, but I have some initial reaction. Yeah, there's probably a line that you're probably spending more than people end up being worth. Because how many times in drafts do we see somebody go in like the first or second round, or like in this, somebody goes for $60 and then they suck or something. So
yeah, I think it's really hard to build a very good draft strategy when you have that much money, simply because you're like, okay, I'm going to spend $150 on 2 players. And, at that point, like, they might be the 2 best players, but they might also, one might be a big bust or get injured. And then you're really in a hole. But But I think like
yeah, I mean, we talked about it earlier this year, and I'll just use myself as an example. Coming into the draft this year with extra money, essentially, my plan was to spend. I had planned to spend between. I had two guys that I was targeting, Justin Jefferson and Jonathan Taylor, and I had planned to spend over $110 on both of them together. I was comfortable going up to 120 on both of them. And it turned out I only had to pay, I think, like, I don't know, less than $100 to get both of them. And then you're stuck with this extra money that becomes, it is helpful, but is also in terms of long-term team building, bidding up guys that you might not necessarily need to bid up to actually get, who you would then like to sign to contracts. I think it creates somewhat of an interesting conundrum. So I'm intrigued to see what happens when we have these many teams with extra money in there. And by this many teams, I kind of am looking at like Jake, Josh, and Fitz. I think Duncan, you've got 23 extra dollars, which I think goes a long way in terms of like how the draft usually turns out. But $271 is a ton of money to spend in a league where half of the top guys are going to be kept. More than half.
Yeah.
Probably,
yeah. It's going to be
I know what
interesting.
his contract situation is. Do you, off the top of your head?
What's that?
I know what Josh's contract.
Josh's contract situation. Not off the top of my head, but I think he shedded most of his contracts.
Yeah, he got rid of. So the only person he had under contract for next year was going to be Terry McLaurin, and I don't think he moved him. So I think he's going to have him under contract for just $12 next year.
Yes, that's right.
Which is nothing. And then the thing I think like what you touched on there, Mike, is like, when you have this much money, you bid up for the players you want, and you're trying to build a long-term roster, and you end up paying more for guys, which makes it harder to keep them in future years when you don't have that extra money. Now, if you're trying to make a single season run, it can be helpful. And I think like what you might see here, and this is like a move that happened today, and I'd love to get Duncan's like take on this, is the trade with Jake, moving Henderson to Jake for $3. And I don't know if anyone came back as part of that to you, Duncan, but I looked at Henderson's contract.
Bam Knight.
Oh, Bam Knight. Yeah. I looked at Henderson's draft price from this year. It was like $31 or something, right? So that's like, I would not see Duncan keeping Henderson at that price, right? For what he's produced. Maybe he goes on a late run, but it still would be hard to sign him to a long-term contract at that price. Now, Jake, with all this extra money, I could see him keeping him for a year because he has the extra money, right? What went down? Why did that trade happen, Duncan?
That was actually all hit. I had no expectation anybody would be interested. So like when I was shopping around to sell people, I wasn't even mentioning Henderson. And just kind of threw me some cash. And I had a similar thought process of, let's say Ramondre gets hurt for like tears his ACL next week, and Henderson comes on and splits time with Terrell Jennings somehow. Is he going to be worth $35 to me next year, even if that does happen? I don't think so. So if I was going to draft him again, I could probably get him for less than $35. But if I was him and had 260 draft dollars, maybe I would just take the flyer and spend 35 of it on Henderson and have a second year running back who was a second-round draft capital for the Patriots.
Mm-hmm.
He stops fucking Vrabel's wife next year, and they actually play him. Who knows?
Exactly. Yeah, so that's like the only way I could see like that being. But I don't think he signs him to a 3-year contract, right? So I could see Jake taking this and trying to build a 1-season team with this money to do that. But he's got guys under contract for next year that like would support that, and Achan and London. But I don't think we've seen a winner, a champion of the league, come into that season with upwards of $250 in draft and put together a winning team with that kind of capital.
I mean, the reason, and I'm going to stop sharing for a second, but the reason that this came to mind is that last year, coming into the season, if I have this correctly, Josh had 252 draft dollars. Now he spent some of it on contracts last year, but he had a ton of money relative to the rest of the league. But it didn't end up working out. But even when I look down the kind of the database of what people spent or what people ended up with at the end of last year, and actually I will just share this to give some comparison to what we're talking about this year. This was the amount that people ended up spending or ended up having at the end of last year. So, 218 for Duncan, 252 though for Josh, and 219 for me, 219 for Peter. Now, those aren't the final available auction funds, but that's just like what we saw after the trade deadline, how much capital teams had. And Josh had a ton of it in $252, by far the most. This year, by comparison, we're seeing something totally different, where when I create that spreadsheet for next year, there's going to be, 247, 271, 265 in there, which is, I don't think we've ever seen that before. That many teams that far above that 200 number going into next year. So
there were a few, I think one or two, maybe it was end of 2023, or no, going into 2024, I believe there was like Alec had 270 something. I think Josh had a good amount. Kelly had a good amount. I think that's when she sold pretty early. So we had like a 2 or 3, that's when I think she sold Amon Ra early, and then I think Josh sold off, and then Alec also sold. I can't remember. He had a huge number at the end of the year. But yeah, I think that's only happened once or twice, and I don't think none of those people won. So it'll be interesting to see what happens.
Yes, there was one year where Alec ended up with 277, and Josh ended up with 265, and neither of them won that year.
Oh, that's the year that you sold all. You paid Alec a ton of money for like Pat Mahomes, and
yes,
I got Josh Jacobs off of him, and then I'm looking at this now. Peter got Derrick Henry off of him, and he walked away with like 70 something bucks. But
yeah,
why are we talking about
the history of this league? It's that story. Mike spent a bunch of money and then missed the playoffs.
That's all you really need to know in the context of this league. All right, let's zoom back in. and we can start taking a look at some of these trades. I just wanted to kind of set the table here and get an idea of where we're at, but it went a little bit deeper, I think, than I intended here. All right. So we're not going to go through all of these. There's too many of them, and it sounds like John is going to tie in what is likely to end up being like a tight end, fringe tight end one into the conversation for each one of these trades. So we can
Just
skip
saying.
over that.
You mean the most pivotal trade in the whole season?
Yes.
It could turn out to be the most pivotal trade in the history of the league.
Well, I think it did start an arms race in the Papa Bear division, right? So, like, I don't think it started necessarily like Ken obviously made a few moves here. He's always been very hesitant or conservative in making moves, but when that happened and the wins started to pile up in the Papa Bear division, right? Where everyone won out last week. And you think there was, and then I made the Lamb move. I think Peter, especially if you want to start with Peter's team, he goes out and goes nuclear, right? Goes and gets Chase and James Cook off of Josh, which I think someone brought up, it gives Peter, I think, 3 of the top 5 wide receivers in the league, right? And Jamar Chase, Puka Nacua, and Amon-Ra St. Brown. I think the other top, you could probably throw Jefferson, CeeDee Lamb, and obviously Jackson Smith-Njigba into that mix, right? As like the top receivers in the league. But my question is, he went out and got
what is going on here? Why is Jamar Chase not on Peter's team on my screen?
Are you on week 9?
Oh, maybe. Okay. All right. Sorry. Keep going, John. Yes, I am. You're right.
It should be. I think if you go to the standings, it should be on his team.
I thought it would, but when I clicked on his name, it came back with the roster from that week. Okay, keep going.
So he adds Jamar Chase, although he still has Wandale Rob. Oh, there he is. Okay, Jamar Chase is on bye this week. Okay, so he adds Jamar Chase, obviously a huge fantasy asset. He gets James Cook. What does that actually do for his roster? Obviously adding in that third wide receiver puts his flex position into probably tier 1, if not the number 1 flex position to have. But is James Cook enough to solve his running back problem that we've harped on for the last several weeks? Did he go out and do enough? Did he spend money in the right places to make this an actual Super Bowl or RTFL championship contending team?
Duncan, what do you think?
Judkins had that shoulder injury. I don't know how serious it is because it was kind of at the end of a garbage game and then they had a bye. But it is hard to, trust rookies that far into the playoffs. I will say I tried to sell him Genty also, and he has enough conviction about Judkins to turn down Genty. Granted, his auction dollars are pretty depleted next year. So he didn't want to I think it's really interesting. So I think this unquestionably gives Peter the best team in the league. We'll see how it plays out. But I think on paper right now, he has 3 of the top 5 wide receivers. He is 1 of the top 3 quarterbacks in the league. And that should be enough to get him a win most weeks, being able to start those 3 guys, obviously barring any injury that could happen.
but he what's really funny to me is that Peter basically built the inverse of Kelly's team. He has 3 incredible wide receivers that are the centerpiece of his team, and then his running backs. James Cook is a good running back, and James Cook is going to score him points. But I think what has been proven over the last couple seasons is that despite what are decent yard per carry numbers, and even decent yardage numbers for the most part, James Cook is fairly TD reliant for the most part for Buffalo in terms of scoring points. So I don't know if it completely solves his running back woes, but I also don't really think it matters all that much because he's going to get enough every week from those 3 guys to make his scoring at running back. It'll matter maybe in terms of taking him over the finish line in a couple of games, but it shouldn't matter all that much for most of the season.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's an argument to be made. He does have the best team in the league for sure. I don't know if I agree with that, but I think the division is obviously. I don't know. I hope it doesn't eat itself. That's all I'm going to say. Which I think it very well might. But I think
the other thing I want to go back to is the idea that that trade with Peter, in which Ken got an extra win, right? The trade with Ken, between Ken and I, in which Ken basically gets an extra win. You guys weren't playing interdivisional matchups, so it didn't really affect any of the other games in your division. But Ken gets an extra win. So let's say Ken doesn't get that win. He'd be 5-4. I'm not really sure what changes in this division in terms of an arm race. Peter has shown time and time again that he is not afraid to go out and spend money. He spends money all the time. You had already went out and gotten CeeDee Lamb at the time that trade took place. And Ken already had what I think.
Well, no, you did the Ken trade before I did the Lamb trade. Is that what you're saying? Or are you saying?
I don't think that's true.
Yeah.
When did you trade for Lamb?
Lamb went first.
Yeah. You traded for Lamb a while ago.
I think it might have been the same week. I didn't have him on my team. I've only had him for one game.
Well, because he was hurt.
No. I only got him. Let's see. I can show you.
Well, I can look it up right here. You traded for CeeDee Lamb on
November 2nd. So on Sunday.
Oh, sorry.
Literally, yes. Like
for some,
one game.
You know what I realized I was thinking of? I forgot that Steve actually traded CeeDee. That this is the second time that CeeDee Lamb has been traded this year. That's what I was thinking of.
No.
Okay.
I went out because I was nervous. Obviously, just having Michael Pittman, DK Metcalf, who put up 1 point last week, and then Marvin Harrison, who's been kind of a dud. But I think the point though is that, like, yes, Peter probably would have gone out and found a different person to spend his money on. But would James Cook have also been available? He would have went out and probably spent money on Genty then, and like had done that. So like I do agree to a certain extent that like the money would have been spent somewhere else, right? Peter definitely would have gone out and done that, right?
Yes,
but
that's what I'm saying.
But then Josh has other players that he's gonna trade away, right? So I think that's where like that kind of he goes out and gives me Swift and AJ Brown, which who knows if they're gonna do anything. But
I mean, they're both hurt, so
they're getting healthy. Okay, they're getting healthy.
All right. Duncan, you made several deals kind of at the end here. So we talked about the Henderson deal, the Monty deal, the Janty deal. Did you have a lot of bites on Janty or not really?
No. Yeah, I think I waited too long to sell. But yeah, he kept having kind of bad games, then he had a bye, and I was waiting for him to pop off and then try to sell him, and then the trade deadline just kind of happened.
Yeah, all at once.
Yeah, and really, Alec was the person who was the most serious. He wasn't the only one who was interested, obviously. I mean, there wasn't a ton of running backs that were available at the deadline. But no, it's not a. That was part of why I drafted him, because I'm buying him at $62. I never had any intention of signing him the following year. He was kind of always destined to be trade fodder. I guess it didn't work out to the extent I expected, but maybe $11 will buy me a championship next year. Who knows?
I mean, I think it's possible that you waited too long, but I also think he had such a slow start, right? And to this point, it's not like he's had decent games. He had the 34-point game. He scored 17 points last week, which is great. But in each of those games, he has not looked very good outside of that 34-point game. His yards per carry.
Honestly, I think he was a victim of Brock Bowers getting hurt, because they're not throwing the ball. And if all they have to do is key on a rookie, I mean, there was games that they gave Genty like 5 carries and got completely blown out. They didn't even try to on the screens or anything like that. I do have pretty high hopes for him as a player out of his bye in his rookie year with Bowers back. Geno seems, at least last week, competent enough to throw it to good players. So, I mean, I think he's going to be a quality asset for Alec, but
yeah, I agree. I mean, it's hard to, and we can get to maybe another example of this in a second, and why a different player didn't move. But it's hard to have confidence in a guy that's on what is right now the 29th ranked offense in the league and has just been, complete dog shit the entire season. Not just him, but the entire offense. And so, it just doesn't inspire a lot of confidence that he's going to get the opportunities needed to produce, and B, that he's in an environment capable of scheming the type of plays that he needs to be able to produce. Interesting. Okay, cool. What about the Monty, the Sutton?
Give me 1 sec. I gotta plug this in. 1 second.
Yeah, I do want to get to Doug's team. I think, I know we're spending a lot of time on the Papa Bear division, but I do think, Doug is one of the more interesting teams at 7-2 right now. Has a ton of problems, and no depth. And he goes out and gets a quarterback and a 1B running back, right? I don't want to call Monty a backup, because he's more than a backup, right? He's better than that. They haven't used him as much, but I think coming out of the bye, they used him more last week, and I think they'll continue to use him more and more down the stretch. But I don't know if running back was the problem that that he needed to solve here. And so, I mean, it certainly was somewhere he did need to do something, but Doug doesn't make a move for a wide receiver. And so I wonder also how much that Jaden Daniels injury played into it about his season. So love to hear though.
Yeah. I agree. And the Jaden Daniels thing sucks for Doug. I think the Monty move is a pretty marginal improvement for Doug. Doug's in first place in that division. He's got the lowest points for by about 40 points to Peter, who also just armed up and, exploded his team. So Doug's sitting in a good position in terms of being 7-2, and it's very possible Doug gets a win this week against me and moves to 8-3, or 8-2, which I think would be huge for him in terms of keeping a hold at the top of the division, especially since Kelly did not sell. So I think this is a big week for Doug. I'm intrigued to see what comes out of it.
Yeah, in Doug's defense, I did talk to him about Genty, and then he had a kid sick at home, and the conversation, he got kind of distracted. And then I think him seeing Genty get sold kind of reminded him, like, oh shit, I meant to make a deal. And that's how we ended up with Monty instead of Genty.
Those are funny because, I was sitting there with Josh, and last night I kind of made an offer for AJ Brown, and then he kind of came back with like, well, what if I throw in Swift too for? The guy had said $10 for AJ Brown, and he was like, like 15, and I was like, He's like, well, what if we do 20 for AJ Brown and Swift? And I was like, nah, hit me in the morning. And he's like, this morning he was like, I'll do 18, and I was like, And then like later, I was like, let me think about it, maybe. And then later in the day, he texted me, goes, hey, I'm gonna start shopping these guys around. And I was like, wait. And then Arlo woke up from a nap, and then I was like scrambling to me. I was like, come on, dude. Yeah, let's do it. Let's just do it. Because Arlo was screaming to get up, and I was like, oh my God, like I don't know what to do. I'm just gonna spend money. Fuck it. So yeah, totally feel Doug on the oh shit.
I have to do something here.
Interrupted. Yeah, I just need to like make a move. So totally get. Yeah, I mean Monty, I think could be, if he starts scoring touchdowns, could be a really good asset for him. But I don't know if these moves make him the favorite coming out of the division, right? So, but he might get a bye. He might get the bye.
I mean, I think it's going to be really important for him to stack wins the next 2 weeks before we move into the division play again, because it's going to be tough for him.
Yep. Yeah, he plays you this week, and then he plays Jake next week, which, honestly, Jake's team could play a spoiler for a few people here. Looking at Jake's team, I don't think that it's an auto win by any means at this point, which I play him this week, which is very unfortunate. So he could end up playing spoiler, especially when it comes to you and Kelly later in the season. So see what happens.
All right. Any other big trades we're missing that we haven't talked about that you wanted to hit?
I thought Doug going out and getting Herbert as a replacement for Jaden Daniels was really great. I saw something today that Herbert has the most running yards as a of any quarterback in the league right now. So has quietly put up, I think he's the quarterback 2 right now on the season. So I think that does really does bolster Doug's team a little bit and could get him those extra couple wins down the stretch. I thought that was a good move by Doug. $13 is a pretty good price, I would say, for like the quarterback 2 on the season. So
I agree. Yeah. Duncan, any of these are there any trades we didn't talk about here?
The Sutton one and then the Garrett Wilson one, I guess. Which I thought the Garrett Wilson trade was good. I wanted Garrett Wilson earlier in the year. It seems like it's a pretty good bargain value for Alec.
So let's go back real quick because I asked this question of both of you at the beginning, just in terms of Alec's team. So Alec is the only one that bought at the deadline in that division. Duncan, your team sold. The other 2 teams sold. Is Duncan a lock? Is Alec a lock to win this division? Or is there any case to be made that Duncan's team, Josh's team, even Fitz's team could play spoiler here? Or do we think Alec has it locked up? He's only 1 game ahead of 2 of the teams in the division. Sorry, 1 team, 2 games ahead of Josh.
I mean, the only intelligent case I can make is crazy shit happens all the time. Who knows? But like just looking at this week, and I don't even know who has made all the adjustments to their roster with all of the changes, but he's projected 113. I'm down in like the 70s now. Yeah.
I don't.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think it's inconceivable, Duncan, that you give that your team gives Alec a little bit of trouble at some point in the season. Garrett Wilson, great player, in a terrible situation in New York.
They're going to be throwing the ball a lot. I'll say that much. They have no defense anymore. So
they are going to be throwing the ball a lot. That is true. And the person that it appears is going to be throwing that ball is
not the best thrower of balls.
Yes.
A running back.
Yeah.
That's fair. I mean, I will say, yeah. I think the reason why I think Alec will win the division is simply Josh Allen. Like, I think that there's multiple 40-point games from Josh Allen still left on the season, and he will deliver on that, and that is enough to put him over the top, and at least 2 to 3 matchups, and I think that gets him there, right? So, I think he does end up there, but I think honestly, Josh, if he had held on, and he had talked to me a little bit about that, where he was like, I'm going to have to go either 4-1 or 5-0 to end the or whatever's left, right? I think you'd have to win out, right? 4-0. So, hard to do, but I think if he were to make it into division play, Josh could have done that with his team. So, I don't know. I think at this point, Alec probably is going to take it.
Well, I think the smart money is on Alec taking it. I mean, I think he has the best roster. He's got a game lead in the division. I would just say though that I wouldn't be totally shocked if things go tits up at some point, and one of his guys gets hurt, and he, it's possible, like the team, at least two of the teams, the Duncan's team and Josh's team, I think are both capable of beating Alex's team if he has a bad week. I don't know about Fitz's team, but I think
that's fair.
I still have a few people that have put up some 30-point games on my roster. Really, I think I kind of threw away the division with Monty because I had him just so bare at running back now. But it was never really, for me anyway, about can I claw my way out of this division? It was
sure.
Once I get out of this division and then I'm swimming in the big pond, then what happens?
For sure.
I will say, Alec, looking back, that's pretty interesting. Looking back, Alec won the division last year as well. So he might be the only returning division winner. From last year. In 2024, it was Ken and Jake that won their divisions along with Alec. Ken very well could end up winning our division. That's quite possible. But obviously Jake's not going to win the division. But Alec could be back to back. Peanut division winner. So it could hang that banner.
I agree. All right. Any other final trade thoughts before we wrap up here?
Well, no. Day. Yeah, too much. Every time a message came through, I was like, oh shit, what now? Who did what? So
I know. It was
you were pretty quiet, Mike. What was your thought process here? You're standing pat on
my team.
On your team? No moves?
Yeah. No moves. I tormented Jake a little bit at certain points during the day. I think I alluded to this earlier in terms of I forgot what player we were talking about, but Janty, in terms of like really good players on bad teams. But Achan was a guy that Jake seemed like he might make available, and I thought about a little bit, but that Miami is such a mess that it just, like, I know Achan's been very consistent and pretty good this year, but he hasn't been giving like the huge 30-point games that he has in the past, and part of that is just that Miami offense is so bad that it does not inspire any confidence. But my real problem here was that if I was going to make any move, it wasn't going to be a running back. I would have liked to have made a move for a wide receiver, and there just wasn't really anybody on the market that I was all that interested in trading for. So
you didn't want to go after Jamar Chase or AJ Brown?
I'll be honest, AJ Brown, no. Jamar Chase, that happened before I could get around to doing anything.
$50 is I mean, for two players even of that caliber, like it's like too enticing, I think, for anyone selling to say just $50. Like,
I mean, I wasn't gonna beat that offer. Like, I wasn't gonna.
Even if you split them, I don't think, like, you're not spending more than 30 or 35 on Jamar Chase, right? And you're not spending more than $20 on James Cook, right? I don't think anyone's spending $25 on James Cook, maybe, but I don't think so. I think I don't think the market's there for that. So, like, obviously Josh is going to take the 50.
Agreed.
Yeah.
So that's where we're at. We'll see what happens. I really could use Bucky Irving to come back.
So when you end up losing the championship to Peter or me, or Peter or me. Really, that's just who's going to win. You can look back on that Kelsey trade and say, "Oh man, maybe I shouldn't have gifted my brother something so nice." So, brother-in-law, not brother. That way, Duncan, just so you know, you're getting Cole every Christmas now. He's never going to be nice to you. He's never going to give you a good deal because it's, ruined his RTFL chances.
I didn't buy Kelsey.
No, I know, but you're the other brother-in-law, so by you're getting the
by
blowback.
osmosis.
You're just he's never gonna treat a brother-in-law nicely ever again because
that's fair. Worth it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, the gift is Mike losing. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. I'm more interested in your overestimation of your team, but we can talk about that maybe next week. Duncan, thank you for coming on here tonight to wade through these trades with us. We appreciate it, and welcome to the league.
Yeah, thank you for joining.
To come on to a lot of discussion.
Yeah. Yes.
All right. For Brother John, for Duncan, the Hoosier Daddy, this has been the RTF show.
The trade deadline's over. Thank fucking God.